Hello there and welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. So in this video we are going to be setting up, in this case, the Fluval 207, but the instructions apply to the entire range, all the way from the 107 up to the 407. So the first thing we're going to do is in fact take everything out of the box. So this is everything that you should be getting inside of your 07 range box, minus the warranty guide. So what I'm now going to do, just for ease of setup, is we're going to take this whole thing apart. We're going to open all the packaging, we're going to open the filter and remove all of the media. Now, if you haven't seen one of these filters before, then the actual way of opening these is to pull these clips to the side and it will raise the main body from the canister, and then you just remove the head like that. It's best not to handle the filter head using the priming rod, purely because it's a little bit of a fragile item and you don't want to break it. And now I've got it open, what I'm going to do is remove all the media, place it all out here, and I'm also going to open and get everything out of our little pack here. So this is the Fluval 07 range broken down into its component parts. It looks confusing, but it's really simple to actually set up and run. The first thing we're going to do is actually prepare our media. You'll actually notice that the media is wrapped in these bags. What you need to do is take the media out of these bags and then go and give it a rinse under some tap water. You're going to want to rinse all of your media, in fact, so every bit of sponge, even the sponges on here, go and give it a really good rinse. Rinse all of your plastic trays, give the inside of the canister a rinse, and the reason we're doing this is just to remove any manufacturer's oils, or in the case of the carbon, we want to get rid of all of the dust. Right, so that's all done. Now the reason that we use tap water in this case is because the filter is not live yet. It is literally a dead filter, so using tap water is completely fine. If you're worried about it, then you can add a little bit of dechlorinator to your aquarium just to make sure any of the tap water gets dechlorinated, but in the levels here it's not going to be a problem. And also, another thing that you should be doing if you're setting up a new filter like this, even if it's on an existing aquarium and it's just a filter upgrade, is to be adding some bacterial boosters to this filter just to get it alive as quickly as possible. So anyway, let's get back to setting the filter up. So we've dismantled it, and now we need to put it back together. So what we're going to do is put these trays back together. So the rod goes through the base of the bottom tray, and on top of that you can then place the rest of your trays. Then we just put the trays back into the filter. Now we know all the media has been unpacked and it's been rinsed. They are pretty much good to go. You put the lid back on like that, and we'll put the sponges back in there. So before we put the head back onto the canister, we need to do a really important thing, and that's put the gasket onto the bottom of the canister headpiece. Now the reason for the gasket is to stop the water coming out of the canister when it's running, so really important unless you want a very wet floor. So that's how the gasket installs. Now you'll notice there's a little bit of oil on the gasket, and that's actually there to help the seal, so don't go drying it off or trying to clean this gasket. It needs to be a little bit lubricated just to create a good seal. So now we put the head unit back on. Now the good thing about these filters is there's only one way of putting the head unit on. You can't get it wrong because the 207 logo only fits in that specific slot, so you can't get it wrong. And then what we're going to do is just clip the unit back into place. So the last part of preparing this filter to be set up with the pipework is actually fitting the Aqua valve. This is a fairly important part of the whole operation, and that just slots in like that. There's no real need to force it, because when you push the red lever down, it will snap it into place. Now that is what holds the Aqua valve onto the unit. The grey valve here is your flow controller, and that is what allows water in and out of the canister, and it controls the speed at which that happens. So at this point the canister is ready. It is ready to go. There's nothing else that we really need to do with it yet. What we're going to do now is set up our pipework, and then we'll combine the whole lot and get it going. So firstly what we're going to do is get our pipe holders ready. Now these parts here are what hang over the side of your aquarium and hold your pipework in place. Now you don't actually have to use these. If you've got an aquarium that has a glass slide over it and it has, for instance, corners cut out of the glass to allow pipework in and out, then sometimes you can just put the pipework straight through those holes. You don't really need these. These are more of a safety precautions, so that if you've got a tank like the one I'm going to be installing this filter onto, it will stop the pipework from falling out of the aquarium, and possibly flooding and draining your aquarium all over your floor. They also come with these suction pads, so the suction pads fit into that slot there and that slot there. Now they are for extra safety, so once you've got it over your side of your aquarium, it'll actually stop it from moving at all. So we're going to go ahead and use those in this case. Now these clips actually come apart into two pieces. You've got the bottom piece and you've got the top piece. So the bottom piece is the bit that actually hooks over the side of the aquarium, and the top piece is what snaps on top and holds everything together. So that's basically how they fit together. I'm having the intake and the outtake on the same side of this aquarium just because that's how it's going to fit. But on most aquariums you probably have them on opposite ends of the tank. So the next thing we're going to do is actually position the filter where we want it. Now this is a really low aquarium, so I'm not going to have any problems with making the tube work actually reach the filter. That's where it's going to be situated and that's where it's going to. So really I'm going to be cutting my pipe work quite short. Now the way that I tend to set up my Fluval pipe work is I actually end up putting both of the rubber ends onto the Aqua valve to begin with before I cut them. And this just allows me to make sure that I'm cutting them to the right length. Another thing you want to do is twist the red little tabs around just to lock your pipe work in place. So I haven't got really very far to go with this pipe work. It's a little bit silly really, because I'm wasting quite a lot of pipe. But essentially you want the pipe work to be as straight as possible and as short a distance as possible as well. You don't want any kinks or loops or droopy bits in your pipe work. And obviously measure before you cut. Now you're going to want a little bit of overlap as well, because the pipework needs to reach into your aquarium. You're not just measuring it to the holder there, you're measuring it into your fish tank. So I would say if I cut about here and here, I'll have sufficient length to then reach into my aquarium. So we've cut our pipework, and now what we're going to do is attach our outtake duck spill and our intake strainer to obviously the correct pipework. If you're unsure, it does tell you on the canister filter which one's which. One is in and one is out. Make sure you get that right. So here's my pipework successfully installed, and the top of the clips put back onto the base unit. Now if you're finding them a little bit funny to install, a little bit hard to install, then the reason is you have to slide them down. This part here doesn't clip onto that part there, it actually slides down. You've got to line up this section here with the relevant section on that side of the clip, and then it slides down and then you clip these into place. So we're now ready to actually get this filter going. Now to get a filter going you need to prime it, and in this case you might have noticed that I haven't actually filled the canister with any water. Now on a lot of other external canister filters, the way that you prime them is you fill the canister with water, you turn them on, and then you go nuts with a handle and you prime the filter that way. Well in this case that's not how it's done. When you're priming this one, what you have to do firstly is have your output nozzle above the level of the water. You want this to have access to the atmosphere, and you want your intake to be below the water. So then what we do, with the grey valve pushed down, is we move the priming handle up and down. And you'll hear that what we've done is created actually a siphon, and now the canister filter is filling itself. So we'll just wait for that to fill up, and then all we have to do is turn it on and it's ready to go. Right, well that was nice and easy, wasn't it? So now all we have to do is turn the filter on by plugging it in. At this point you can put your output nozzle under the surface of the water if you want to. So we'll just turn it on and the filter should work. And that is how you set up the Fluval 07 series range of filters. If you like this kind of content, please remember to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thanks for watching and happy fish keeping!